John McClain, Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Famer, and also columnist, joins us on 365 Sports. John, I know the season begins, and I want to get to that, but did David Mulligetta take Jerry Jones to task? Did he dominate this thing? Was this a one-sided deal or not?
No, David Mulligetta took the Packers to the cleaners. His client wanted to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. TJ Watt makes $41 million. That means he should have gotten $42 million. He got $47. Somehow Mulligetta got the Packers throwing an extra $5 million a year. Don't know how he could do that. Would Parsons have said no to $42 million a year based on what was he going to make, like 26? So Mulligetta took him to the cleaners, and that's great for Parsons. Cowboys, of course, are not going to be as good a team, certainly not as good a defense. If Dak Prescott can stay healthy, which he's had trouble doing, the odds are they're going to the playoffs because the last 5 times he's played all or most of the season they've gone to the playoffs. They don't have a running game, but they should have a prolific passing game. And I've told people in fantasy football, take the Cowboys because they have to throw the ball. And Kenny Clark, defensive tackle. I see a lot of media people talking about how his stats fell off and he had his worst season without doing the homework. To understand that he was injured all of last season. He had a big toe injury, I believe, but he played hurt. And it's hard for a lineman or anybody to push off when you got a toe injury. And I think he had it repaired after the season. So now he's 100%. And he's a great guy in the locker room, great culture guy, really good run player. He gets some pressure up the middle in passing situations. But the key to this whole trade, of course, is what the Cowboys do with the draft choices. And the fact is, if the current general manager is the general manager in these next 2 drafts, if you're a Cowboy fan, you can't be real fired up about him hitting a home run with those picks that ought to be in the 20s.
See, that's where, I'm not team never trade anybody, but.
By the way, Paul, congratulations.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you. I've talked to a lot of Cowboys reporters in the last week, just kind of on the thing and said, look, they can see how it happened because of Micah's big personality, Jerry's big personality, and how for whatever reason, this one just took Jerry in a different direction and he lost the patience to get any kind of a deal done. And this got weird. But never to never trade somebody. But if he was really thinking about doing it, he lost all of his value leverage by not doing it around the draft when people would be like, oh, hey, wow, this could be big. And they're sending him off to the Packers, which make them more of a Super Bowl contender now. So there's a good shot that pick could be 31st or 32nd if it all works out for Green Bay.
It could be. And in fact, Cowboys fans better hope the Cowboys pick's high. I've had people tell me since the trade, oh, boy, they can package those picks and move up and get a quarterback. I said, you're not going to get a top quarterback prospect with, say, a Cowboys pick 10 to 15 and a Packers pick 25 to 30. I don't think this makes them. One player is not going to put a team over the top on the Super Bowl unless it's Tom Brady, like going to Tampa. But their defense should be better. They lacked pressure, and of course, he gives them pressure unless he has problems with his mysterious back injury. And so the Cowboys, they better hope in a deep draft that they're able to get one of these top quarterbacks wherever they're picking. And I think it'd be great if they were to upset the Eagles. I think it'd be great if they were to beat the Packers in that 4th game or whenever it is, because that would shock the world. Jerry could fly back to he could fly back from Philadelphia without needing his plane if they were to beat the Super Bowl champions. And there have been upsets before with Super Bowl champions playing like that. But anyway, it's going to kind of not take the Cowboys out of the news because they're never out of the news. But what it's going to do, Micah Parsons, who by all accounts has a big ego. That's one reason he's a great pass rusher. But the other thing is, you don't get nearly the attention playing for the Packers as you do the Cowboys. And if that's going to be a blow to his ego, and how do you spend $47 million in Green Bay? You can get anything you want in Green Bay for $1 million. He's got $46 million left over. I don't think it'll be nearly as fun for him off the field as it was playing under the microscope with the Cowboys, because he was so good at it. I know all those players up there are so happy that it's over. Not getting asked about it every day. Brian Schottenheimer, even though his defense won't be as good, he still has got to be relieved it's over, just because he can focus now on football.
John, you congratulated Paul on his favorite college team. I wish I could do the same for you.
Ouch.
But what did you think about Baylor and Auburn the other night?
That's just mean, Craig. That's just mean. I thought your daddy.
It wasn't a shot.
I thought your daddy would have raised you better.
I thought I did too.
First of all, the way they were beaten up on the defensive line was embarrassing, just bullied. And the other one is they look clueless about how to stop a running quarterback. The gaps, overrunning plays, they just look clueless. And that's on them, of course, but it's also on the coaches. And Dave Aranda, I thought, was very honest. He didn't try to blame it on bad calls by the officials or anything. And when you give up a kick return for a touchdown, that's inexcusable. And Auburn is not even supposed to be one of the best teams in the SEC. And after it's over, I told my wife, man, I'm glad Baylor's in the Big 12. Now, if they beat SMU, everybody will be happy, but SMU is good. You can't stop Auburn's quarterback. Kevin Jennings is a better quarterback. He's a good passer, and he can run when he has to. And SMU, after watching that tape, Jennings is going to be running more than usual. And I can't wait for this game. I thought Baylor would have a better game plan for the second half, and they would come out, and the things that worked against Arnold in the first half would not work in the second, but they just looked lost.
All right, you know the history of the Southwest Conference. My God, you grew up in the middle of it. But so TCU, when they got back in the Big 12, or when they got into the Big 12, they beat the hell out of Baylor. I mean, the first year, RG3, of course, had this Heisman Trophy kicked off that year in 11. What is it? Houston wants to beat it, but how about SMU? Because I think they know that pretty much the schools in Texas in the Big 12 that included for a while UT did not want to give them a chance to have relevance and the opportunity to be a part of a Power Four. How much does this mean to them, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I don't think any player today gives a rat's about the Southwest Conference and what used to happen in the past. I have never hated SMU like I do TCU. TCU goes back to Browse and Patterson, where at that point I hated the Frogs more than I hated the Longhorns. And it's all about the fans. The fans hate them. Players come and go. And I know so many people were so happy about Texas, but I think Baylor, you see SMU, you see a team that lost at Penn State in the playoffs, and they're good, and they're coached very well. And I think this is a big game for the team and the fans, but I don't think the fans, it certainly doesn't it doesn't get me fired up like it does some of these other games, especially TCU.
Yeah, I think I was talking more about the alums. The ones that, that back in the day, and then of course they were about the time when, they were on that death penalty for a while, and they weren't going to be a part of it anyway, no matter what.
Well, I was so happy last night for Kendall Browse.
Yeah, they looked really good, didn't they, John?
Kendall, I don't think he'll ever get a head coaching job unless he changes his name, and that's too bad because I thought he was going to be the head coach at U of H, and I think he would have been the head coach at University of Houston by now, if not for the scandal at Baylor. And it's amazing how many of Art Browse's assistants are coaching in college football as coordinators, a couple of them head coaches, and that's one reason Baylor was so good back then. It wasn't just Browse; he had put together a really good staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of them are on that TCU staff that looked so impressive, as you mentioned, with Kendall and company last night. Anything else? The Parsons trade, that's done. Eagles trying to go back-to-back. Hell, nobody in that division goes back-to-back, not much less it's hard to do that for a Super Bowl run. Any storyline in particular, other than what we've discussed, that you see as you enter yet another year of covering the NFL?
Well, it's my 49th year of covering the NFL.
49.
And I was so glad to see Bill Belichick get humiliated last night. And I actually like Bill, but the things bother me is when coaches try to screw the media. All through the summer, he wouldn't let his players have names and numbers, so the media couldn't tell who was who and who was lining up first team. Then he wouldn't put out a depth chart. That's so juvenile. And everybody else puts out a depth chart. And nobody, the NCAA, no, the ACC, nobody's got the footballs to force him to do it because he's Bill Belichick. And I think Sonny Dykes is a hell of a coach. And I know Baylor has to play up at TCU. And that's going to be a hard one. Right now, they all look like they're going to be hard for Baylor unless they're not better up front. But I love what happened last night. And Philadelphia, they hadn't been a back-to-back champion since the Patriots, and then the Super Bowl loser, in this case Kansas City, Super Bowl loser other than the Patriots 1 year, hadn't been back to the Super Bowl since the 90s. So that means Kansas City's not going to the Super Bowl and Philadelphia's not winning it. Eagles not even going to win their division. I guess that would be your Washington Commanders.
Well, I hope that you're right, because it was fun last year, wasn't it, guys? Garrett, Craig, it was just kind of, man, it was like, okay, is this going to keep going? And eventually it only got better. John, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time as always. And what?
Stick 'em there.
There you go. John McClain, always